You know, Paul, it's great that I can get you up into the hills and we can check out the wildflowers. So I'm walking along the fence line and I see this guy. I'll bet you know what that is.
Not precisely. It looks like it's from the balm family.
You know, that's pretty crazy that you're eating it without checking to make sure that it's not like a joke I'm going to play on you. Say, yeah, that's highly toxic.
I'm kind of counting that you're going to direct me to something that's worthy of cooking.
Yeah, no, it's catnip. So mint family, and raw, cooked, whatever you want to do with the leaves. It's the mint family, and it's a wonderful, I actually make a lot of tea out of catnip, but in the kitchen, it's all on you.
Fun. Here's one for you, and right now my mind's, I have catnip growing at the restaurant. It just kind of pops up, but I never processed that I could use the catnip. I always thought, well, cats like it, I'll leave it for the cats.
In the end, this is a wonderful treat in the kitchen. It's mint, basically. You can see all the tall dead stalks from last year, and there's tons of it here. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to leave you here just for a minute, and now that you know you've got catnip, Western Spring Beauty, I've got a treat for you for the third ingredient.
Okay.
You can wait for me here?
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Should I be nervous?
Not at all. You should be excited.
So he says.
Originally from Southern Europe, the Middle East, Central Asia, and China, catnip is now naturalized throughout North America and New Zealand. And you can find it everywhere, so the harvest is usually abundant. Yeah, those are salmonberry. They're not, I mean, they'll be ready later, but they're not ready.
Nice flowers.
Yet. Yeah, they're beautiful. Oh, hey. Here we go.
Ooh.
Perfect. This is lady fern, Ethereum filix femina. You don't even try, don't even try. It took me long enough to get that to roll off the tongue. It is lady fern, and it is also edible. You hear often about eating the young shoots of a plant. So the young shoots in the case of ferns are their fiddleheads. Now here's the thing about eating fiddleheads, at least in the case of lady fern and also sword fern, which I see around here. They can be toxic if they're not cooked. They have a substance called thymidase, and it breaks down the vitamin B thymine.
Interesting.
So we don't want to eat it raw, just in a salad. You're going to want to blanch it or cook it or change water or however you want to do it. But one way or the other, you're going to need to cook this plant.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's the catch. When you come to picking it, what you want to watch out for is anything that is a hand span, like if you just put your hand like that, you know, in height or taller, just leave it.
Okay.
Here are the ones you want, these little beauties right here. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Now, you should be able to just pop it out with your hand like that. If you take too many of those fiddleheads, you actually take too much energy away from the rhizome, and the plant dies. So in this case, the recommendation is no more than 3 per plant, which means let's take only 2 per plant.
Okay.
Being a vascular plant, ferns have neither seeds nor flowers, only spores. And you can find them, well, wherever it rains a lot throughout the world. All right, let's take a look at this one. This is more what I was looking for. Polysticum munitum, which is Western sword fern.
Okay.
All right, you can see the difference, I mean, the size of this compared to the lady fern. Now, here's our little fiddleheads here, and I want you to maintain proper harvesting. They say you can take up to half of the fiddleheads. Let's not do that. Let's just take 2.
Okay.
There are so many around here. If you just go around and just take 2 fiddleheads from each one, that's good harvesting.
Yeah.
You can see also there's such a drastic difference between the lady fern fiddleheads and these Western sword fern fiddleheads.
The color on these is amazing. They've got this sort of gold, bronzy shine. Like I can't really describe it.
Well, they look furry too, right?
Yeah.
So now, don't worry about the brown flakes. You can leave them on, or you can take it off, depending on how you want it to look in the dish, I suppose. So, obviously, you've worked with fiddleheads before in the kitchen. I don't know what chef hasn't. But Western sword fern and lady fern, that's got to be new.
Yeah, I've never seen these. These look different. Like right away, they're lighter. The texture's kind of similar on the lady fern, like when I rub it in my fingers.
Yeah.
But this is new to me, so who knows? It's going to be interesting to find out.
There's a lot to really read through and to figure out when you're dealing with ferns. There's so many beautiful ferns, and they vary in many ways. This is a time when I find that feel comes into play. With ferns, check out how they feel. And notice, are they feathery-like? Are they hair-like? Are they coarse? And are they sharp? And that's one way to get to know a plant as well. It's not all just sight and parts of the plant. It also is aroma. What do you smell? This particular fern actually has an aroma to it, and I can pick up on that, almost cucumber-like. All right, Paul, well, I've brought you up from the river because I want to focus on one this time around, okay? Right here, right here. Check this out.
That was fast.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm looking at? Because I can see, 6 different plants right now.
I'm guessing spruce tips.
You guessed right. This is the Sitka spruce. What we have here is an opportunity to take one species, the Sitka spruce, but look at multiple ingredient sources. So, number 1, we have the spruce tips. Number 2, as you know, the spruce needles. Here's what I did for you. I came here a couple of days ago. I came down and I gathered a bunch of these tips and some of the sprigs, the branches, for the needles and the tips. I took them back to the kitchen. And I actually spent some time making spruce needle infused water for you. By the time you get it, it will have been soaking for 48 hours.
Like cold brew coffee?
Yeah, exactly. I also made some spruce tip simple syrup.
Lovely, okay.
I did use standard white sugar and a splash of honey. And again, that will be soaking for 48 hours before you get it. So there should be lots of rich flavor, resins in there. Now for you, what I want you to do is to gather as many needles as you think, and as many tips as you think you might want to use. So this way you end up with, in essence, 4 ingredients from this one Sitka spruce. Syrup, the water, your needles, and the tips. Growing to more than 300 feet tall, the largest species of spruce and the 5th largest conifer in the world, the Sitka is found in southeast Alaska. And then it hugs the west coast of Canada and is found all the way down to northern California. All right, well, this is the Sitka spruce. Now, how do I know it's a Sitka spruce and not some other kind of spruce, or maybe a fir tree or pine tree? Come in close and get to know the needle. That's really one of the easier ways to figure out if you're looking at a spruce or a pine, or a spruce or a fir. Now, when it comes to looking at the Sitka spruce needles, I like to look at them from this end. So I'm looking kind of down into the way they form, and especially the underside. What color is the underside? Are there any lines on the underside? How many lines? All of that, and in this case, I know that the Sitka spruce needles go all the way around the branch. That's very important, because other trees, such as balsam, they may flatten out, or they might flatten out only on one side. So with the Sitka spruce, the needles go all the way around. Now, the other way to properly identify the needles is to break it off, and I look down the broken end of it, and I notice that these needles are actually 4-sided. If you think of it like the mint species, mint have 4-sided stems, or often just called square stems. And this needle is a 4-sided needle. Now, you need a magnifying glass or glasses or younger eyes to see it, but fortunately I can just see it just like that. And yeah, so if you look at it right down the end, you can see that it is actually a 4-sided needle. That's the Sitka spruce. Okay, well, for proper harvesting, I'm going to walk my way around the tree, taking only 1 tip from each branch. Many of them have 3 tips on them, and that way the tree will actually continue to grow in a more uniform manner. If I just harvested from one side on a constant basis, then eventually that tree is going to look very lopsided, because I'm literally pulling off this year's intended growth, and I want to be kind to this tree. You know that we're going to be dealing with the maple trees,
right,
and the maple syrup. But I've also hinted to you that we can utilize just the sap itself, right? So in that way, we get kind of like 2 different ingredients out of this one bit of foraging. I have still got a few buckets up. Here's what I want you to do. Taste the sap.
Fun. I've never done that before.
Okay, well, this is your chance. Those of us who tap trees and make syrup, we can't not do it, because it's delicious. So just take the bucket, have a sip.
Okay,
it's kind of like a sweet water. So go find a bucket and enjoy.
This is a first for me. It's like sweet water. There's not a lot to it, but I have an idea how to use this.
Well, a couple of pointers. South side of the tree. And you just think about where the sun is in the sky, where it arcs around, and you can kind of imagine it on the tree. So sun's over here, arcs around the sky. Where does the sun hit this tree? Take away some of the bark. Right about here. And I'm going to angle it so it goes just slightly up, a bit of an angle. Now, I don't think the sap is going to be dripping right this moment. Weather's been changing a lot. Not bad, little touch more. Kind of go by feel. And of course, if I start drilling into the tree and it's on a day when the sap is truly running, it'll just start pouring out. In fact, sometimes within the first 4 seconds of turning the drill, the sap starts oozing out of the hole. It's a beautiful thing to see, actually. All right. That should do. There we go. That's a beautiful hole. That's it. On goes the bucket. Beautiful. At some point soon, I should hear drip, 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 and that's a beautiful sound. There are days when it actually looks like they're all little faucets. It pours out so quickly. And other days, you go back and it's been a few hours and there's only a 1/4 inch more sap. So it changes all the time. And that's the magic of gathering maple sap. You have to kind of, if you pardon the pun, go with the flow. I'll leave you with that. In a band wrapping around the planet through most temperate forests, there are around 132 species of maple. And even though they don't all produce sugar-filled sap, most of the species in North America do. The sugar maple, of course, is the king of the sap-producing maples.